These can finally come off. That'll be stuck on there nicely. And I'm going to go and sand any excess, fill any holes, fill the sides. Fill the sides with caulk, big gap there. That's a credit to my scribing. Isn't that beautiful? I mean that a little bit sarcastically because it's, I mean it could be more beautiful. But there we go, that is, that is how I did it. Scribing is not my forte, let's be honest. Next up, I'm going to paint these with a wood primer before I paint it green. That is a little preview of what the colour's going to be like. It's so matte. It is so matte. It is delicious. I can't wait. I can't wait till this is all over the wall. I'm also thinking I might paint this white for it to stand out. What do you think? White, green, or all green? I want it to pop. We have quite a big gap here in between this shelf and the flue. So I'm going to fill it in with some flexible caulk. It's important that it's flexible because it means that when this wood expands or when the house moves, it's not going to crack. Once that's dry, I will go and just sand off any of these loose bits. I use some wood filler on the other parts. I still have a couple of pieces of the coving to make, one there and the piece that's around the corner. I still have to finish that end so that it is complete. I also need to glue all of these pieces. These are just placed up here to make sure that I'm happy with how they look. I know that looks super dead wonky, and it's because the ceiling, the ceiling and the walls are just so wonky. So what was recommended in all the videos I've looked at is to just allow it to look wonky and then put it in with filler afterwards so that the actual line of the coving is straight. This bit is mostly done. The little piece just there I need to do. And then of course the painting. But this is where I've got to, and I'm really pleased. I think it's looking really nice. I am really happy that I've decided to finish it there. It's gonna look so good. I am gonna paint it white. I have to say though, that doesn't look as bad as I thought from over here. Those joins are not too bad. I need to fill that in with caulk so that it looks better, but not too shoddy. I've added all 3 paint pots into this giant painting tub so that I can mix them together and make sure that the colour is consistent. They're all from the same batch, so there's no reason that they shouldn't be, but I have heard stories of paint coming out slightly differently, and the advice being to put all of your paint that you're going to use in a tub, mix it together to make sure that it's consistent. I've already painted that little bit. That was mainly just to test it out and to record some footage for my video. But I can paint over that. And now I'm just mixing it, doing my first mix. Any that I don't use, I'll just put back in the pot. This is what I'm using to mix it. This is just a mixing bit that goes in the end of your drill. I have finally installed all of the coving. This part over here I'm yet to caulk the edges of. There we go. That's pretty much as perfect as I could get it, and I'm going to go and fill in a couple of the gaps with caulk, And then these edges, I'll actually just round them so that it will fill that little gap that you can see. But this side of the room, I've already caulked. It's looking really good. I'm really glad that I did this. I am really glad that I left this area. So here it ends, there it ends. Gonna add some beautiful, maybe pine wood battens in this section. So I'm just going to carry on and finish all of the caulking for this area. You can see the difference already, can't you? That sort of blends in, and over here you can just see all the gappy gaps. Just popped down to get a cloth so that I could wipe off any excess caulk from here, and also to put some lunch on because I'm absolutely starving. But making good progress. I also thought of a better way that I could have done this corner. I think it will come out fine and I'll probably leave it, but rather than squeezing in that little tiny odd bit, I could have just made a cut about here and replaced that entire piece so that I wasn't having to fuss around in the corner. Removing the nails now that the coving has fully dried, and wherever I've had a little nail hole, just using the end of this tool to brush over it to get rid of any of the raised edges, so when I fill this in with caulk in a minute, it will just be flush. I've also got a couple of areas where the nails went a little bit rogue that I need to fill in, and for that I'll be using caulk, but also this to make sure that it's nice and flat. This is where the curtain pole goes. I thought that this would cover it, but it hasn't, so I'm probably just going to leave these in and put the curtains back up where they were. This was a disaster when I was putting this up. Oh, nothing I did worked, and it came out quite messy. But yeah, taking out all of these nails, filling in the holes. Caulking is now complete and it's now dry. I did stumble across a little bit of a problem, which is that the caulk that I used was not sandable. Whenever I buy caulk, I always get something that's flexible, paintable, and sandable. That last one wasn't on the list and I didn't realise. It makes what I'm doing so much more complicated, because when I'm adding caulk, I'm doing it as carefully as I can, but you still find areas that you might need to go back and just sand it down so it's flush. And so I'm now faced with the fact that I cannot sand down any areas of caulk that have been left. And that makes it quite tricky as well on this as plasterboard, because you also can't apply too much pressure to rub it off, because then it rubs off the paper on the plasterboard. So that's not ideal, but I've just gone around and just been making it as flush as possible. Now I'm going to these shelves ready for painting with some primer, and I'm gonna probably actually put the first coat of this on first so that it has time to dry before putting a second coat. I wanted to show you what happens when I do try and sand the caulk. It all kind of rolls off in these little mini sausages. It doesn't sand well at all. So I realised I was doing the order of painting in a little bit of a daft way. So I was cutting in the green and going to paint the coving afterwards. But that's silly, because the coving not only has one flat edge, it has a really, really small edge that is quite hard to get to. I brought this paintbrush up to get into the edges, and it was really hard. So what I've decided to do instead is to paint the coving first, and I can do that quite haphazardly, really get into all of those gaps, and then I'll go in and put the main colour in afterwards. That's going to be a much better way to achieve a really nicely finished look. Making good progress. I'm going to paint the rest of this coving first and then do the rest of the green. So that's me for today. If you want to see how this project ends up, don't forget to like and subscribe. And thanks for watching another episode.